Hi, this is Pam Holt, and it's March Madness. And what is March Madness? March Madness is a short-term rental tournament where you decide which of 16 picks prevails as the champion short-term add-on service for hosts. So today I'm going to be talking to Amylee Silva. She's going to join us from Portugal. She's going to tell us all about her tour guide business. And I think this is a fabulous thing that hosts can add on to their hosting strategy, whether they decide to give the tours themselves or whether they decide to collaborate with a local tour guide. I think that guests are going to love to have someone who is from the area, familiar with all the sites, to take them around and show them the sites so that they don't have to sort of, fumble around on their own, and give them some of the local history. And I think it's going to be great. So let me bring on Amylee. Hi, everybody. And okay, so there she goes. Now, oh, there you are. Hi.
Hello, hello.
It's great to see you.
Likewise.
I want everybody to know that this is your second time coming on live with me, and so thank you. But for any host that didn't see you the first time, I'm telling you, this is about, I think that I've done 25 of these interviews now, and your interview is one of the most important ones that hosts need to take a look at because you give information about SEO. So she's talking about in our interview optimizing your listing within the Airbnb or whatever platform you're on, but optimize your listing so you get in front of more people, you get more views. And that's really, really important. So if you missed that interview, you can find us on YouTube on my channel, or you can go to my website, insidebnb.com, and then it'll take you to our interview. And that one is a must-see. So
Thank you.
this one will be the second most important must-see. But today, I want to hear all about this because I don't know anybody who does this, and you're just fun to talk to anyway. So tell us all about your business as a tour guide.
Yeah, so prior to leaving Toronto, Canada, and kind of moving over to Portugal, I pretty much decided that I was going to start a business because I didn't know how to apply for jobs here. I didn't know how long it was going to take, and I was like, I need money.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
need, I need to create. I need to create a revenue stream, and so I knew already moving over that I was going to create a tour with the online or with the Airbnb experiences platform. And at the time, it was just in-person activities. And now, as we know, the world has changed a little bit. They've opened it up and now they offer online experiences. So essentially, with that kind of in mind, we just decided on what beach town we wanted to live in. And once we got settled, I got to work and use the platform as an independent person to create a product that I could sell that would keep me here in the town, close to my daughter, because my daughter is going to school here, and it would keep me in town. It would have the flexibility that I want to start and end whenever I set the schedule myself. So I came over here with that idea, and yeah.
So you're not from this town?
No,
I
no.
didn't know that. Oh, okay. So you just picked it out. Had you been there before traveling and you were just like, oh, this is the place we need to go back to? Or,
No. Well, yes and no. The last time I had been to this town, I was super young. I was
okay.
6, 7 years
I
old. So
see.
I have some memories, but nothing concrete. Yeah.
I'm going to put up a
Oh,
little,
wow.
a little
Yeah.
picture. Oh my goodness. No wonder you love it. It looks beautiful. So you did your research. This is a better story than I even thought. You did your research and you're like, yeah, that's my town. I'm about to show people around, even though I'm not from here and
Yeah.
I'm not a local. I'm just going to figure this out and I'm going to make this a business and this is how I'm going to generate income.
Yeah. Pretty
This is
much.
fantastic. Okay, so
Yeah.
how did you get started? How did you figure out, what to show, who to show, and what to show?
Yeah. So the Airbnb experiences had just started in Portugal, but they had been in Lisbon and Porto for the
Hmm.
longest time. So the first thing I did was I went on a scouting trip. and I went down to Lisbon and I joined a couple of experiences myself.
Oh, cool.
Was able to kind of take the guides who are already on the platform, just took them aside after the fact and just asked them a couple of questions. And then, literally within a week of me kind of doing that scouting trip in Lisbon to see if it was something that I could do, I came back to the center of Portugal in the area that I'm from. And I got to work and just started kind of researching what I could do, what type of walks were working. And yeah, I just kind of, I went with that. So I came to the town and it took me 2 months. I started
Okay.
walking around and kind of designing everything. We have a lot of hills in Portugal. So my background is in tourism. I've been in tourism for 17 years. So I kind of just listened to all the customer complaints in my brain and kind of took that
You
with me as
reverse
I was
engineered it,
designing
huh?
it. Yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, where's the closest bathroom? Where can we buy water? How many hills do I need to avoid? What staircases should I kind of walk around or move around? And it took me about
Wow.
2 months to do the walks myself, test them out, see if there were alternative routes, and kind of think of like, what's going to happen if it rains, or what's my plan B if this happens? And then after the 2 months, after I kind of planned it out, I applied onto the program or onto the
Mhm.
platform and was accepted. And then within a week, I had my first booking.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
you just said a whole lot of stuff. What's it take to apply on experiences? I started one that I was thinking about doing just to kind of see what the process was, but I
Mhm.
didn't even have an experience. I don't even know what I would have taught anybody or shown anybody, but I wanted to see what they were looking for. So can you talk a little bit about that, what it's like, what they're looking for, and what you had to submit to them?
Yes, definitely. So it's not an intense application, but it is a very detailed application.
Hmm.
So you need to come up with a title. You should have photos ready. You should have a pretty good idea of what the experience is going to entail, types of price points that you're going to offer, what's included, what's not included,
Hmm.
and sort of the experience level that your guests might need. And if
Mm.
you're not familiar with the Airbnb experiences, and now with the online platform as well, the options are endless. There's photographers who will help you take photos of yourself in the city that you're visiting, because especially if you're
Oh,
traveling solo, you're always taking kind of selfies or relying on strangers to take photos for you. So that was actually an experience that I booked myself, and I used them for branding photos. But I went into Lisbon. I hired a photographer on the platform. He took me around. So I had pictures of me and the sites
ah,
and
cool.
everything. For me, I chose a walking tour because it was twofold. I'm used to kind of being in an office setting and sitting down. So it was a way for me to be active, and I wanted exercise as well. So I wanted to do a
Ah,
tour.
love it.
Uh, there's art classes, there's cooking classes. So there's so many ideas. So you want to come up with a name, you're going to come up with a description. You're going to talk a little bit about yourself as a host, even home's host. You have your own profile. And then they ask you some questions like, have you been hosting this before? Have you done this for your friends and
Mm.
family, or just, people have come to visit you? What kind of experience? What makes you an expert? And what makes your experience unique? Is there
What'd you
something that
tell
you
them?
bring?
What did you say?
For me, what was unique was me, who is
I agree with that. Yes, see, that's the one I wanted to hear.
yeah, because it's really interesting. Sometimes when you live and grow up somewhere, you have blinders on. And when you move somewhere, you immigrate or you become an expat, you're essentially looking at everything with fresh eyes.
Mm.
So I was able to really speak to how I'm kind of a hybrid person. My family is from Portugal. My parents immigrated over to Canada in the 60s, and then I grew up between both countries. So
Mm.
I have what I feel is a very unique perspective where I can see the differences between how I grew up and what happens to me or happened to me in my life in Canada, and how Portugal is different and the lifestyle is different here, and can just talk about pretty much anything. And it was easier for translation because it's amazing here in this town just how little information is actually available in English. So
Oh,
yeah, a lot of it is still in Portuguese. So it was really interesting kind of doing the translation and being able to explain buildings to individuals that couldn't find the information otherwise. So
so
it
you
was,
give the tours bilingual, or you?
I do, but mainly I do them in English. Yeah, I
Okay,
can host them in Portugal, but I'm more comfortable in English for
okay,
sure. So
okay.
yeah.
So then, how did you decide where to go? What kind of places did you look for when you were setting up the tour?
I was looking for historical places,
Okay,
anything that had history, maybe some drama or some stories I could tell. Storytelling is really important when you're kind of hosting a tour or you're creating an experience. And then I was looking for views. I'm in a
uh,
pretty picturesque beach town,
yeah. Hold on, I
so
have to go
it
back to this. I'll say,
So it was finding those little spots that kind of only locals know about, because you can, it's crazy. It's a small town, but you can get on a loop, on
mm,
a kind of little touristy loop and not really know that there's something just behind this building. So I was
okay,
looking for those unique places that we kind of only hang out at so that I could open it up. And then I really tried to combine everything, culture as well. So
mm,
what little snack I was going to offer, what foods I could introduce and talk to them to my guests about, and what would give them sort of my tour is actually a 3 hour tour. I have a shorter version now, so I have
okay.
the whole town covered. So they're going to all the areas that they didn't even know existed, and that I saw a lot of tourists missing as
Mm,
well. Look, I'm going to take you to this spot because I know it's hard to get to, and unless you're super comfortable, just asking people for directions and kind of being really open, then
you
you might
never
get
find it.
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't find it. So, and then I think what's really unique about the Airbnb platform with the experiences and the listings is there's always this sense of community, right? And
Mm.
and kind of that home feeling. So I live here. It's not a place that I just visit. I raise my daughter here. I go grocery shopping here. All these little weird quirks about what it's like to live in the town and in the country is something that I can offer my guests as well. So it just kind of lent itself.
Great. So how many people do you have on a typical tour?
The average group size is about four. Yeah, four to
Okay.
six. So they're not large groups, and now we'll have some restrictions for the first little while, but four seems to be a nice number. Usually two
Wow.
couples. Yeah, two couples
That's
or a
super
family of
intimate.
four. Mm-hmm.
Wow, you could ask a lot of questions if you were on that tour. I think that would be great. You would really feel like it was a personalized kind of situation because they've got your ear literally for 3 hours and you have to listen
Yeah,
to all the questions.
yeah, yeah. And I'm a talker, so
That
so
helps. There you go. There you go.
and
So,
so it works.
so you have them meet you at a particular place, and then do they have like a map, or are they just sort of following you, or how is it
Just
set up?
following me. Just following me. Yeah.
Okay.
So on the Airbnb experience platform, very similar to the listings, you have your starting point, you have your way to communicate that we need to meet at a certain time. You have the messages all open.
Okay.
So I try to be as descriptive as possible about the starting point, because I know that most people are coming here are speaking a different language.
Mm,
So their maps might be translated, it might not be translated well. And we
mm.
have a very quirky kind of address system here in Portugal.
Okay.
There are buildings that don't have numbers; they're just known as names. And then,
Okay. Okay.
so we have a very specific kind of starting point, and I send that in the welcome email. And then from there, I just guide them around the town, and it's pretty free flowing. Like I have certain routes, but I always try to customize it depending on the group. And if there's anyone with knee problems, then we take an alternative way.
Mm.
And
Nice.
yeah, all those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you stop for snacks, or you
We
bring
do.
snacks, or?
We do. So we kind of start like in the heart of the town, and then we go to the farmers market because I love it. There's
Oh,
people and
wow.
interaction there. I can talk about the food and foods that they should try in the area. And
Nice.
most people here have self-catering apartments, so it's also helping them support the local community as well. The farmers go in, they have their booths, they go there every day. Everything's local, organic, so it's a way for them to really see kind of day-to-day life. Then we go
Oh,
on a bit
that's
of a
nice.
trek. We go on a bit of a hike up to a town or a suburb or a neighborhood that most people don't get to see or don't
Mm.
go. And then we relax there for a little bit at a lookout point, and then we start walking down. We take one of our historical kind of monuments, which is a funicular or an
Mm.
ascensor or an elevator or a tram. There's like four
Oh,
names.
I like the funicular. I do like that. We don't have that. If we do, we don't call it that. And so when
Yeah,
I was
it's
over there, I
very,
was like, oh, we got to get on the funicular.
it's very British.
Yes.
I stumble on it sometimes when I pronounce it, but essentially it connects the Lower Beach town to the neighborhood that I live in, which
It's
is
like a tram,
yeah,
a
exactly.
trolley, or I guess maybe those are the same thing. It's on a electric thing over the top, or it's on a rail, or both.
It's on a rail and it climbs up the side of a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool right there. That's worth the price of admission right there. That's cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It climbs 1,100 feet up or 318 meters. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
quite a nice way to not have to climb that up. Most people ask me on the tour, they're like, "Are we?" Well, it's like, no.
You're like, how are we gonna get up there?
Yeah. I think we'd
Ah.
all be pretty much dead and broken by the time we walk up that stairs. The tour would automatically end. So,
That
yeah,
sounds, the views must be fantastic along the way up.
definitely, definitely. It's quite stunning. It is the highest point in the town. And then
Oh,
from there we start going down to the other famous beach town with the world's largest waves. So we cover the entire town and they'll see essentially, oh, I can't even, they'll see about an hour south and an hour north of the coastline. So it's quite
wow.
crazy the expanse that we get on our little cove here. So mhm.
Wow. It sounds really, it sounds kind of exhausting, I have to say.
It's a good workout.
It sounds like you might need a nap afterwards, but it sounds fantastic. And so, but you mentioned like what happens when it rains? Do you postpone it or do you just trek through it or?
Yeah, I've never had to cancel a tour, to be honest. So I've been really lucky. Um, I will plan different routes. I had a really bad rain one day, actually, with a group, and they were aspiring chefs. So we
Mm.
just hung out in the farmers market. It just
Oh.
worked out well, and we pretty much just
Ah,
ate our entire way through the market. And then the rain let up, and then we were able to pop out and kind of do the rest of the tour together. But it's pretty free flowing, and because it's the Airbnb brands, the travelers on, including us, like the hosts and the travelers, we have a very similar mentality. So
mm.
I've never run into any issues. Everyone's usually very welcoming and open-minded. So
Oh,
I'm
that's nice.
gonna knock on wood. I haven't had any issues yet. So
Okay. So you don't get people complaining about, the weather's bad. I don't want to walk this far. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
if they're in town for a couple of days and I can be flexible, I can move it around. But I haven't had to yet. So that I've been really lucky. Hmm.
Fantastic. So how do you market the experience?
On Instagram, I have an account. I also created a website, a tourism blog of sort, to not only promote the town, but to promote the walking tour, and to drive traffic organically, which is my other
Your
passion.
second love. Right. So talk about that. Talk about how you worked the SEO, your SEO magic on this little town and what that did for you in the Airbnb rankings, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, I when I started the blog, um, I it was already the second rendition. It was the second version of it, and I wasn't getting any traffic. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm missing something. I think the key is SEO. And so I really just dived right into the subject matter and just anything that I could consume, I consumed. The podcasts, videos, anything online, even downloading the Google Bible of SEO, which is a couple hundred pages, and printed it off and read it all. And then I joined a couple of communities, blogging communities online. And after I finally learned like the SEO, I started putting it into practice. And within the first month, I had 45 visitors that I had never had really before. And then the next month there was 100. Then at the peak there was 600, and this was
Okay.
all within 3 months of me actually implementing some of these techniques. And when I saw how kind of quickly it picked up, and how successful SEO was to and the difference it made to my site and the traffic and the inquiries that I was getting. I went all in and just kept learning more and teaching myself more and implementing more techniques. And within 2 weeks, one of my photos for my tour was indexed by Google in the top row. So every time you click that photo of Nazaré, yeah, every time you click that photo of the beach, it would take you to my listing. It would take you to my experience. So it
See,
was.
that's incredible. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why you have to go back and listen to the interview that we did before, because you have to understand how she did this. And now, so will you show other people how to do this? Other
Yeah,
hosts how to optimize, and so they can have their photo up there in the index?
yes. Actually, there is an announcement coming through the actual official Airbnb channels. So
Okay.
I'll just say that within the next week or two, all home hosts should be getting an email
Okay, that's
after the
exciting.
program. But yes, I will be offering this. I will be offering an experience.
Something. Okay, okay. Well,
Yes.
I can't wait. I want to hear more about that. But so the reason I wanted you to come on and explain this is because I think this, what you've done, is something that hosts can either decide to do themselves, or, like we were saying earlier, collaborate with someone like you in their area and offer a service like this for guests who are coming in town. Now, my situation doesn't lend itself that well to it, only because most of my guests are coming in town for a conference, and so they're very focused on the conference. But for those who have listings that are in places that are, have some level of historical, interest, or even smaller towns, or even people who are just traveling but not necessarily focused the whole time on business. I think this is a great way to have guests have an authentic, immersive experience, and for hosts to wrap that kind of offering into their overall strategy. And because I'm always trying to get hosts to differentiate their listing. So
Mhm.
one way to stand out is to offer a tour, offer a guided tour, an authentic, local, curated experience for them, and have that be a part of what comes with or can come with their listing. So that's why I wanted you to come on and talk about. Can you talk a little bit about how you price the tours, or how hosts can price tours if they're offering them themselves?
Yes, the Airbnb platform is quite intuitive. So you obviously you get to set your own price. So some competitive analysis, you kind of look around, what's the going rate for a walking tour that hits these marks, and that's 2 hours, that's 3 hours. Do you include tickets? Do you include anything, or is it just kind of a guided tour?
Mm-hmm.
But they're pretty good at giving you an average of what the average kind of experience cost is,
Oh,
and give you
nice.
some insight. Yeah.
So they'll
And
help
then
you.
every market's slightly different. The average is slightly different based on your currency and kind of the city or where you're at. So they're really good at providing that information. Like, as an example, experiences in your area range from this to this, so you can have
Okay,
an idea of your
nice.
competitor. I definitely checked out competing websites, so competing online travel agencies, OTAs like Viator, TripAdvisor, all of
Hmm.
those, to see
Hmm.
what was going on there as well. And then, I struggled with the pricing for a little bit, but I have a really intensive tour, so I do provide a lot of information, and it is quite long. And I do include a lot. Everyone gets about $5 to $10 worth already off the top of their tour. So I provide a lot of kind of included activities. So I'm priced at the higher end, but I was really more confident to do that. You can, at the beginning of the strategy, you can always try to go a little bit lower, get
Hmm.
those reviews kind of going, get that momentum going, and then do small increments along the way. And that's essentially what I did. I kind of offered it a little bit lower at the beginning, and then did my increments as my reviews came in, and then got to the price point that makes the most sense for me.
Okay, so just like home hosting, you'd probably want to start out a little bit lower, build up the reviews, and then use your social proof to justify or substantiate your increases in prices. That's cool. So for hosts, then, do you suggest they have a separate experience listed, or do they sort of build that into their primary home listing, or both? Do they reference? Will the Airbnb let you reference the other one, the experience in the home listing?
Yes, you'll have to create two separate listings. They'll
Okay.
everything gets built underneath your profile. So your
Okay.
profile will have your home, your experience, even an online experience. We'll have everything kind of separated out as per
Okay.
your profile. But you will need to complete another application. But you can cross promote. So within your listing, you can mention, "Hey, did you know I offer such and such experience? Consider booking this." Da, 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 and then you can kind of tease. You're promoting another Airbnb product, so there's no issues there with adding a
Yes.
little tagline.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Well,
do
you
that
know
with my
what?
walking tours as well, because one is 3 hours and another's two. So I said,
Okay.
"Hey, are you looking for like the faster version of this, or maybe you're short on time? Maybe you're only coming in for the day. I offer a 2 hour version instead of the full 3 hours." So
Okay.
I tease both of them in the description. So
Okay. It's
mhm.
interesting that Airbnb has, you go through that application process for the experience. You know, you don't have to go through that much to host. And maybe you should. Maybe there should be, more of a some sort of scrutiny in the hosting practice. But I'll have to have that conversation with them another time.
Yes, yes.
But anyway, what I want to know is, I know everybody was affected by COVID, and I know that Airbnb moved the experiences online. How did you make that adjustment?
How did I make that adjustment? I didn't make it at first. I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to go online. And then essentially, as my hope diminished, no,
Welcome to
performance was
a
doing
year-long
it.
pandemic. Yeah.
I was one of those early adopters. I was like, no, this is going to be like 2 months. We're going to be fine. It's going to be rock and roll. When that,
You're like,
when
when that didn't work.
didn't happen, I started looking at the online experiences a little bit more and kind of going virtual,
Okay.
essentially. But I waited until this year to go virtual. I actually did an application and it got rejected, but I did kind of just whip it together.
Mm,
So that was a little bit on me as well. They were getting quite a few applications, so you
right.
needed
I
to go
bet.
strong, and but that was fine. And then I just went back to the drawing board and it's like, okay, what's going to be sustainable? What what's going to be a little bit more evergreen? Maybe
Mm,
something that's not so short term, and one that wasn't going to completely disrupt my home as well. So I kind of thought of all of that. I have a toddler, and there's some amazing cooking classes,
mm.
but I can't be in my kitchen for 8 hours. Nor do I want to, but
Right.
some people
Right.
do, and some people do, which is totally fine. So there was just some of those considerations, and then I started applying once I had my ideas together and I tested them out, and yeah, and then I went virtual this
So,
year. And
so how does that work? Is it still the same kind of tour? Like, do you have video, or is it
so
stills,
the
or are you
newest,
talking, or how
yeah,
do you do it?
the newest version that I'm doing is with a different company, not on the Airbnb platform. It's called virtualtours.io.
Mhm.
And this is it's a virtual tour. It's my cell phone, me hand holding, walking around the town and
Oh,
explaining it as best as I can and making sure that I still have connection everywhere.
is it
Uh,
live, or is
it
it?
is 100%
Oh,
live.
wow,
30
wow.
minutes, yeah, 30 to 45 minutes. And it's a
Hi, this is Pam Holt, and it's March Adness. And what is March Adness? March Adness is a short-term rental tournament where you decide which of 16 picks